This is the first in a series of videos I'm going to do about shooting metallic silhouette. More specifically, small bore metallic silhouette, which is shooting little targets like these guys, almost always with 22 long rifle caliber. Those guys are set up at various distances. We'll get into that later when we talk about a different video about your course of fire, your distances to your targets, and setting your rifle up. But for today, we're just going to talk about the basics of what you would need for equipment to get started and get yourself shooting. Basic philosophy, anytime I'm going to do a video, is that getting into silhouette doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to spend huge amounts of money, although plenty of people do. You can get into it with basic equipment, probably the stuff you already have, a rifle chambered in 22 long rifle, and basic gear. Alright, I'm going to cut here and come back to it in a second. Alright, on the table today, I've got my regular rifle that I use every weekend, a Ruger American rimfire 22 long rifle. The rifle that I started with way back when, a Ruger 1022. Normally, to shoot the small animals, these guys, you would have the scope on the 1022 if you were starting that way. But there's nothing that says you can't show up to a silhouette match with a rifle like this, with iron sights. What you would probably be doing is shooting at the larger targets, shooting in something called maybe a club rifle class iron sights, shooting at the half-scale targets. The small targets, like these guys here, are 1/5. So, quite a bit bigger than these. But we'll get into more on that, more details at a later time. Right now we're going to focus on things that you do with scoped rifle. So get this guy off the cabinet. Cut here, and we'll come back in a second. Alright, so when you show up to a silhouette match, basically the things you're going to need are some sort of scoped 22 long rifle, some magazines to go with it. This one uses the rotary magazine just like the 1022. Nice and economical to have one kind of magazine for many rifles, as far as I'm concerned. If you don't have an open bolt indicator, you don't have to spend a lot of money. This is just a straw. This is the green little indicator that we get from the NRA. Most of your matches that you go to, the clubs are going to have some sort of open bolt indicator. You don't need to get fancy. Most of the time I use a zip tie. You're going to need eye and ear protection. Alright, basic eye and ear protection. For ear protection, a lot of people will wear the muffs. The problem that you get into that in silhouette is that you're shooting in a very upright position. You're shooting standing, offhand, no slings, no fancy clothing. A lot of times this will interfere on your ears with the rifle stock. That's up to you, the individual, how you stand with the rifle. Some people will be just fine. There's all kinds of different earplugs. I like the foamies a lot. I like these guys right here if I'm shooting only around other people with 22 long rifle. The problem is a lot of times you're shooting next to people who are competing in cowboy class rifles, pistol caliber carbine. If you're standing next to somebody who's blasting away with a .357 Magnum, you're going to want something bigger. You're going to want something at least like this, because it'll drive you insane. Because remember, we're trying to concentrate on little guys like these out at 44 yards. Or, guys as huge as this, I could still fit them in my hand practically, at 100 meters, which is 109 yards. Eye protection. Some sort of eye protection like you would wear every time you're going to shoot anyway. I like having a couple of different colors of lens. Not such a bright sunny day. Bright sunny day. Binoculars. If you have a pair of binoculars, bring them with you. It's a good idea to be able to see where other people are shooting. Gives you maybe a little clue as to the weather conditions. If you have some sort of spotting scope, always a good idea to bring that with you. We'll cover on a later video the importance of having a spotter, using a spotting scope. It's a big advantage. A ball cap. Good to keep the sun off. Good to keep the brass from other people flying in your face. Those are the absolute basics. Now we'll get into a little bit more about the rifle itself. Alright, shooting silhouette, a silhouette rifle, 22 long rifle caliber. There are two different classes. I don't want to get too heavy into the rule book part of silhouette. There's hunter class, which is what we have here, a tapered barrel, your basic hunting type stock. There's also standard rifle class. Think of that more as standard competition rifle. That would be heavier barrels, heavier stocks, a heavier weight rifle in general. You can compete with a hunting rifle in both classes. You cannot use the standard rifle in hunting class. I wouldn't worry about it too much if you're brand new to silhouette. Just show up. They will put you in the right class, the right category. Alright, another thing that you're always going to need is some sort of big old box to stuff everything into. You're going to have a toolkit, rags, your ammo. Ammo selection on your rifle is a whole nother video we'll get into later. You will note I do have things like my dial-ups at different temperatures and for different types, brands, weights of ammo. As we get over here, I have my tray, which I'll get into a little bit more later. You'll also see I have dial-ups there. I have my dial-ups, current dial-ups right now for the ammunition I'm using, written right on the side of this with a Sharpie. Another thing you're most likely always going to need is some sort of a clipboard. Bring a pen. Yeah, I know the clubs are going to have a pen, but bring a pen so you have things to write it down. Always good to have a notebook stashed in there to keep notes on weather conditions, wind, stuff like that. If you're really messed up, you might need to go back to those notes later. This, in case you're wondering, is a little foam card with the pictures of the animals in it, so your spotter can tell you where you hit without actually saying anything. We'll get into the spotter teamwork type issues in another episode. Basic tray. This is nothing but a toolbox tray out of a plastic toolbox. I made some wooden cutouts out of an old shelf I had lying around. And the reason for that is this. When you come up to your position, when it's time to shoot, your rifle's up, your scope's not lying on anything, you can carry all your magazines, your clipboard, your timer, which is my phone, all right in there. If you need to carry, you would never carry your glasses probably, or your protection separate, but if you needed to, you do. You would have a box of ammo in here. That keeps everything safe and in one spot. Everybody's different. Not everybody uses a system like this. This works for me. In the one more, slightly more advanced category for clothing is a very basic shooting vest. You're not allowed to use any kind of fancy, hardcore, tight-fitting clothes like you'd see the Olympic-style shooters shoot. that actually restricts movement. You are allowed to use a basic shotgun style vest. There are special silhouette vests, which is a whole nother video all in itself. That's different. But a basic vest, after you've been doing it for a while, is a really good idea. It helps in a lot of different ways, and we can cover that in a later video also when we get down to clothing. While we're talking about basic clothing ideas, a loose-fitting shirt, loose-fitting pants so you're nice and comfortable, decent footwear, which this is probably not the best example of. It is what I have been wearing lately at silhouette matches. It's not the best idea because it allows my foot to move too much. Winter work boots that I usually wear are a much better idea. That covers the absolute basics right now, and we'll get into more stuff in the next video. Thank you very much. And while you're waiting for the next video, plan on going to a silhouette match and knocking down some of these guys. Have fun. In this bucket, you're also going to carry things like sunscreen, insect repellent. You might want to carry some extra clothes with you, food, water. You don't want to get dehydrated when you're out there. You'll be shocked at how many targets you'll miss when you're dehydrated, hungry, frustrated. This is a sport where you need to be as calm and focused at the same time as you can possibly be. Dress for the weather. If it's going to rain, there's nothing worse than walking around in a pair of wet shoes all day and trying to focus on hitting a little tiny target. Bring an extra pair of socks, an extra pair of shoes, jacket, raincoat, rain gear. Stuff it all in your truck in a big box somewhere. You'll be ready to go. Ah! That doesn't work. That even sucked just doing it as an example.